This video is for our moon phases, eclipses, and tides review. This was done on Thursday, 10-15. So this is just me filling it out if you want to double check your answers or you weren't here and you just want to fill it out to get your points or whatever that may be. All right. So question number one, which type of eclipse is shown? So our order is sun, earth, moon. If we look at this, we can tell that this is a full moon, and the eclipse that happens during a full moon, if we just highlight this and delete it, is a lunar eclipse. The way that I remember a lunar eclipse is that it's a full moon and the Earth is in the middle on a lunar eclipse. Question number two. How many high tides and low tides do we experience in a day on Earth? Well, if we start, every high tide and low tide is 6 hours apart. So from high tide to low tide, it's 6 hours. Then from low tide to high tide, it's 6 hours, and that's 12 hours. And then it goes back one more time. So we actually have 2 high tides and 2 low tides for a total of 4. Okay, so we have 2 of each, and we have 4 total during a day. During which moon phase do we see a lunar eclipse? If we go back to our diagram here, this is a lunar eclipse. We would see a full moon. That is what we see during a lunar eclipse. This is just a fun one. Which Christmas movie has made the most money in the theaters? It's actually Home Alone. That is the correct answer there. What causes us to have tides on Earth? Now, there are multiple answers you could say for this. The simplest one is gravity. You could say the moon's gravity. You could also say the moon and the sun's gravity. Okay, the moon is mostly to blame for our tides because it is closer. The sun also plays a part, especially when we have spring tides and neap tides. But overall, just gravity in general, specifically from the moon, is what I'm looking for. And this is really helpful for the assessment on Friday. What would the order of the sun, earth, and moon be in a solar eclipse? So if we start with the sun, the next thing, during a solar eclipse, the moon is in the middle, and then the earth is on the end because we're looking from earth to the sun. The moon is blocking our view. All right, which moon phase would follow this one? Well, this one is a waxing crescent. It is a waxing crescent because it is a crescent shape, and the white part is on the right. So that means that it is a waxing crescent. And if we look at a moon diagram in your notes, we would see that following a waxing crescent, we see a first quarter. Because waxing gets bigger, so we go from small to medium, which is the halfway moon. All right, what is the name of this junior wilderness explorer and up? His name is Russell. Good afternoon. My name is Russell. All right, question 9. How many hours pass between a high tide and a low tide? We talked about that a little bit earlier. 6 hours between tides. Okay, 6 hours for 4 total. If we multiply 6 times 4, that's 24 hours, which is our day. All right, where would the moon be located in this diagram? Remember, high tides occur when the moon is on the sides of Earth that are next to the moon and opposite the moon. So if we're finding where the moon would be located, it has to be next to a high tide. So obviously there's nothing down here, but there's an A right here. So the moon would be located at position A, if I spell position right. All right, question 11. What is it called when we have a super high tide? So when the sun, earth, and moon are in a straight line, as we see in our diagram here, we call that a spring tide. So the moon can be here, which is a new moon, or it can be all the way over here, which is a full moon. Those are spring tides. During which moon phase would we see a lunar eclipse? That is when the moon is in the middle of the sun and the earth. We see a new moon. New moon. Where would this structure be? Well, that's the Eiffel Tower. That is in Paris, France. Paris, France, if you didn't understand my French accent. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. Name the moon phase that would come after the picture shown below. Ooh, is this a first quarter or a third quarter? Well, the white's on the left, so it is a third quarter. Now, during a third quarter moon, the next phase actually gets smaller because waning gets smaller. So we have a waning crescent. It gets smaller, so the white part would be on the left, and it would be a crescent. All right, during a lunar eclipse, what moon phase do we see? We already answered that one. We would see a full moon. It turns red. Why do we not see an eclipse every month? Well, this is a great answer to remember. We do not see an eclipse every month because as the moon revolves or orbits around the Earth, it is on a tilted plane. Okay, what that means, let me see if I can find a quick little. So what that means is as it revolves, it's not flat, it's tilted. Okay, so what this causes, so the sun, Earth, and moon are not always in a directly straight line. If you look from the top, they would be, but if you look from the side, the sun might be here and the Earth might be here, the moon might be below us. So we wouldn't see an eclipse. All right, which of the following positions would we see a high tide? Well, my trick with this is if we draw a line from the moon through the Earth, the positions that receive a high tide are the parts on the Earth that are hitting the line. The part closest to the moon and the part opposite the moon. So B and D are at 90-degree angles. A and C are our high tide. So positions, positions right again. A and C. All right, our last question here. Describe the position of the sun, Earth, and moon during a spring tide. All I'm looking for this one is the sun, the Earth, and the moon are all in a straight line. Okay, this could be a new moon or a full moon. If we look from the top, the moon, the Earth, and the sun are all in a straight line. That doesn't mean it's an eclipse, because the moon could be lower, but they're all in a straight line. All right, tomorrow, or if you're watching this today we have a moon quiz. And yes, I'm very shocked. And this is the worst. So